Like, you have to sit down and think about yourself. You have to sit down and evaluate yourself. So basically, the word I'm looking for is self-evaluation.
Yes.
You have to sit down, evaluate, ask yourself questions. Why do I do this? Why am I so what's the word now, for the lack of better word, why don't I want to do this particular word
things.
Yes, why don't I want to do this particular thing? It's because you are afraid. And so when you reflect and you evaluate yourself, you get the answer.
Yes. Wow. To evaluate yourself.
Woman Speak Podcast with Joy Sylvester. Welcome to my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Have you ever been in a situation where you have a lot of things to achieve, right? And then fear looks you at the face and is now a barrier from accomplishing all that you want to do? I know I've been there. I've faced it so many times. Welcome, all viewers and newbies to Woman Speak Podcast. I am your host, Joy Sylvester. Today with us, it's an honor to have a great mind, and she's a lover of God. She is a content creator. She's a great friend. Join me, Woman Speak Podcast, as we welcome Pekeno Grace.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing, Pekeno?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
How is life? How is school? How is your content creating? It's not easy waking up, getting the ideas and all that.
Well, honestly, like you said, it's not easy, but all thanks to Jesus. School has been great, life has been great, and honestly, all glory to Jesus. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Yeah. So, like, today we're discussing fear, right? And fear, obviously, is not from God; it's from the devil, because the Bible says He has not given us fear, but the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah.
So we're going to be discussing fear, as the term fear, because I know as much as is overstated, we don't see or we underestimate what fear really does, the damage fear causes to us. So we're going to be discussing fear, the common fear we women face. As much as men face fear, we too face fear. What are those fears that are more seen in women? We'll be discussing that. And no, fear is also a weakness. So we're going to be discussing the weaknesses of fear and how can we turn this weakness to our strength. How can we because I was having this conversation with a friend and he said something that really stood out for me. He said they are not bad or good feelings, but how we channel those feelings. So fear, as much as it comes, how do you channel those feelings? How can you make those feelings your strength? So we're discussing what fear is. So, like, as much as we all know fear is what is fear, something that makes us scared, what is it really that fear in us?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. So fear, basically, in my own words, I would say fear is a spirit, and fear is something that doesn't allow you to basically do what you are meant to do. Fear is a hindrance.
Yes.
And that hindrance starts in your mind, and it begins to manifest physically, spiritually, and it begins to hinder you from accomplishing certain things that you're supposed to do.
Okay, like you said, hindrance, because I know for a fact me, like, I have a lot of ideas on my mind, and then to achieve that idea, you just get scared. What if I make a mistake? What if I stumble? What if I don't achieve that? Even concerning Woman Speak Podcast, when God dropped the idea in me, that was this year, July, and I had the idea. God just dropped. It was actually retreat, a God girl retreat, and when He dropped this idea concerning Woman Speak Podcast, honestly, I was scared. I was like, Lord, a lot of requirements, a lot of funds need to be put in, and I don't really have that funds. A lot of it needs to take your time, to take your energy. Will I really achieve it? I don't want to start something and at the end of the day, you don't get them. So there are a lot of ladies working this. Some of them don't really even know what fear, that they are facing fear. So how do you now know, like, I'm battling with fear? Because sometimes some of them just say, okay, some don't really know that this fear thing, I'm actually facing this fear thing that you're talking about. How do you now know as a person that you're going through this fear?
Okay. First of all, if to answer your question, if you have a certain fear, you'd have to look inward. You have to do a deep reflection to know as to why you behave certain ways, and you can know by the excuses you give. For example, let's take you. You said when you wanted to start this podcast, this very lovely podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
You said to give God excuses. You had to. So when you gave the excuses, what you would do is you would go back and reflect and think, why am I giving these excuses? And then you begin to go back, take a step backwards and begin to reflect and see, okay, I'm giving these excuses. Why? Because I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? I'm afraid, what if this doesn't work out, right?
Yes.
What if this is a flop and it's not a success? That's your fear. So you have to sit down and think about yourself. You have to sit down and evaluate yourself. So basically the word I'm looking for is self-evaluation.
Yes.
You have to sit down, evaluate, ask yourself questions. Why do I do this? Why am I so what's the word now? For the lack of better word, why don't I want to do this particular word? Yes, why don't I want to do this particular thing? It's because you are afraid. And so when you reflect and you evaluate yourself, you get the answer.
Yes. Wow. So you evaluate yourself, and I think that's what you said, really, because most of the time we feel like we know ourselves. This thing, you don't know yourself as much, because you think like, okay, I know who I am. I know this is who I am. But sometimes when we sit down, like evaluating ourselves, we actually like, oh, I can actually do this. Oh, I have these issues and all that. So then we're going to look at the fears that we commonly face as women. As I know it's kind of men too face the same. We also face similar fears with men, but there are some, I say, rampant fears that we as, due to society, due to experiences, and even us as women, that fear is just generally related to us. So what are those fears that we face as women? Like for me, I feel one of the fears we normally face, like, is fear of not feeling like you deserve to be good, or not feeling like you deserve more. Sometimes you just feel like, okay, because I'm a girl, much is not expected from me, so I don't deserve more. So when those good things come or faces at you, you feel like, I don't deserve more. I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't be living this good life. I shouldn't be feeling this way. For example, when you get a large amount of money, all that kind of thing, you shouldn't be flamboyant. You should be scared. You should not feel that way. Let's discuss about that, because I've been there too. Like I told you, this fear is like a personal thing, because we need to sit down and talk about what about discussing the fear of not feeling you belong. How do we now navigate that fear, and what is all about that fear? What's the result, the main cause or the main source of that fear, and how do we resolve that fear?
Okay, so that's two questions. First of all, the fears that pertain to women in this age is specific to every woman. It is very, very specific. You give an example of when you have a certain amount of money and people begin to think, oh, I don't want to be flamboyant. The truth is, there are some women right now that are in our age groups that don't have that fear. Their fear could be something different. That is why I said you have to reflect, do deep reflection and evaluation to know that fear. Like the fear, we don't have one fear. There's different fears that come to. I would give an example in the Bible. Moses' fear was that he was a stammerer, and so he was afraid of his daughter,
yes.
public speaking. But then when we moved to Gideon, his own was because he wasn't strong, he wasn't brave enough. Do you understand? Everybody had a different type of fear. Do you understand? In the Bible. Then how much more we ourselves? Somebody's fear could be influenced by how they were brought up, their environment, their age. A little girl of 5 years old fear is going to be different from me. I'm in my 20s. Our fears are way different. When I was like 5 years old, I'm very sure maybe I was afraid of the dark or something, or spiders and things. I still don't like spiders, but but like it would be more specific to that. And right now my fears are different. As I grow, the fears too are growing, which is why you need to cope it. So to your second question, how do we cope it? You have to know the fear. You cannot deal with an enemy that you do not know. Like if you do not know the fear you're dealing with, you can't just say, oh, all the fears in my life be gone. It doesn't work that way. So you have to identify your fears first of all, and then when you identify the fears, you begin to work on them. You go to God and pray. You tell God, in the book of Job said, the thing I have greatly feared has come upon me. Meaning there was something he feared. But what did he fear? To lose all that he had. And it actually came upon him. Now this is somebody that had everything, but his fear was that he would lose it all. And it did happen. So you need to go and give God your fears. When you started, you quoted a scripture, 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, of love, and a sound mind. How do you get a sound mind? Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So you renew your mind. If you have a certain fear, you begin to. I'll give an example. At one point in my life, like let's say last year, that was actually last year, I was afraid of driving. It was because I had an experience that was somewhat traumatic. So to enter a car and turn on the ignition and drive, it was and at first I was like, no, I've driven before, so why would I be afraid? Until I began entering the car, and I noticed that anytime I drove, I would shiver. I would so many thoughts would enter my mind. And then that's when I knew that, okay, there's a fear. And so I had to take it to God and be like, okay, this is the exact fear that I'm dealing with. So you have to identify the fear. If I kept on, dilly-dallying around and say, oh no, it's just a thing. The truth is I would never get over it. And one day you just see that I would maybe stop driving. Because it was so bad that to pull the car out of the house, it would be a hassle for me. This was something that I did effortlessly. So I had to identify the fear. I had to go to God in prayer, and I had to start renewing my mind. I had to start renewing my mind. I had to tell myself, oh, I'm a great driver. I don't have an issue driving. Oh, I have this and this. And then thirdly, you have to open up. Oh, I had a brother that taught me how to drive, and so I told him, oh, I was afraid of this because of this incident that happened. So you talk to someone about it. If it is something that you can talk to, or if it's something you can share. If it's not, you go to God, and then you just make sure that you are addressing that issue, because the truth is, whatever you don't address will come back. In the case of Job, maybe it has been happening when he bought his first land, up until he became the richest man in the East. Do you understand? And then he didn't address it until that calamity came upon him. So if we don't address our fears as women, for example, it could be dealing with self-confidence. You are not self-confident when you have a little gathering now and you are told to organize a program, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to do it because you're afraid that, oh, you're not good enough as a woman, you're not strong enough, you don't have what to offer to the world. When you probably maybe past that level, you are now in a higher position, and now you have to stand before kings and more. You won't do it. That's just the truth, because you didn't cope that fear.
What you said, that identifying that fear, if you don't identify it at an early stage, it should just blow up in your face. So when you said concerning the self-confidence, if you don't know, if you don't identify that I have a problem standing in front of people.
Yeah.
When God then takes you that to that higher level, you won't be able to know or be able to overcome that fear, because why you slept on that fear.
You've slept on it. Whatever issue you don't deal with will definitely come back.
Okay, so one of the fears we also need to discuss right now is the fear of success as a lady, because you feel you have all it takes, but sometimes you feel you can't express yourself rather, or of all that you have, because you feel they will see as a lady you're doing too much. Or for a woman that is married, she's a career woman and everything, and so sometimes you feel like you need to dim your lights, or else you're overshadowing your husband. You're meant to be under your husband.
Yeah.
As much as I believe in submission, but sometimes people say you shouldn't be better than your husband should be better than you.
Yeah.
So that fear, that can be a fear enough. When career opportunities come to you, you feel I don't deserve to be to get that opportunity, so you tend to push them away because you feel of that fear. Let's discuss that career. Because I feel that fear as much is more rampant, because most people are career women, but they say, you're too career women,
too successful.
Yes, you're too successful. Some will say you're too successful. You really find the man.
Yeah.
So let's discuss that.
Okay. I think first of all, as I was saying, I said consciousness.
Yes.
So first of all, you have to know who you are. God has already. When God said you are light, like when he said ye are the light of the world, he wasn't specific to a gender. Like he said ye are the light of, meaning male and female. He made them, so all of you are the light of the world. So you have to know who you are. And then the good thing about the age we're living in, and that we have the Bible, is that we have mentors. We have people. We have seen people who take the Proverbs 31 woman. Like the truth is, I like to believe that woman, before she she got married, she already said developing those skills. Buying a vineyard, buying a field, knitting a sweater, and all those things that she did. Like, do you understand? And her husband was not afraid. Like, if you read like the entire chapter of Proverbs 31, you'd realize that she was doing a lot. And it's easy for us to say in our society now, she should downplay her success a little bit, so that her husband won't feel. But no, her husband was great. He was at the gate with the elders making decisions. We have people and people will say, the Proverbs 31 woman is let's go to Deborah. Like the Bible says, now Deborah, she was a judge, a mother, and the wife of Lapidot. I'm very sure that the Bible mentioned that for us to know that she had a husband. She was,
as much as you're successful,
you are successful. So we have mentors. And okay, in our present day age, I would like to think one of the people that inspire me a lot is Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika. She's a very inspiring woman. She talks about her husband. She talks about how he has supported her, and her rise to greatness. This man is doing a lot. Would you say she should downplay? Imagine if she had downplayed her success. We wouldn't know the name. That's just the truth. We would not know the name. So first of all, consciousness. She knew who she was. Everybody. Deborah, in the Bible, in the book of Judges, Deborah said, "Now I arose a mother in Israel." Like, she knew who she was. So consciousness, first of all. You have to know who you are. If you know that you are light, when you are going for that job interview, you are not going to downplay your qualifications and because of your gender. No, don't do that. Nobody's gonna pay your bills. No, God is provider, but the truth is, you should know.
God has been put those things inside of you.
Yes,
so you're to utilize
when He made us in His image, He made you with those qualities. So don't downplay it. If God, your Father, the person that created you, is not ashamed of you, is not afraid of you, then that is all. And the belief that for people that are looking to get married, you might not find somebody. The truth is, men, they are men. They are men. God still has sons. God still has sons. And so don't think that I mean, Deborah, for the fact that the Bible mentioned she was the wife of Lapidot, meaning Lapidot was a husband and she found Lapidot. The Proverbs 31 woman had a man in her life.
Yes.
So you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are. Don't subscribe to the mentality of downplaying your qualifications, your skills, because of fear. Don't do that, because God has called you out of all of that and He has made you light, a city set upon a hill that cannot be hidden.
Yes, like when you're giving, before we even started talking about, before the recording, talking about the smart money woman.
Yeah.
And what you said, I was like, I didn't see it now, like Lara, right?
Yeah.
What were you even saying?
I was saying how when she went for the interview, that's in the second season, and she lost her job, so she went for an interview and she negotiated, and we were all thinking, oh, this lady negotiated and did well, and only for us to find out that she was the cheapest option for the employers because she was a woman. Now imagine if, now that is after her negotiations, now imagine if she downplayed herself rather. Like she would have not gotten to that. And then because she's smart, I just loved her confidence in in the series. When it was time, there was a time she had an opportunity and she went to the boss and then told them and told him that
she was so confident,
like she negotiated so well. She knew
and what she offered.
That is what consciousness does to you. You know yourself, and so when you are going up front, you know you are going like this. When David met Goliath, he told him that I come in the name of the Lord. Like I'm not just coming as the small boy that you're seeing. I'm coming like this. When we're talking about women, Jael just knew that, Sister, come to my tent, I'm gonna pin you down. Just come, I'm gonna pin she just knew that she could do it. It was just consciousness. Imagine if she was afraid. She would not even be able to tell
how can she go and kill or get the victory on my name as a woman.
Exactly. Or even for Deborah to say, oh, there are so many women not in the Bible and even right now doing so much. That's just, there's so many, and it stems from consciousness. They knew who they were. Either they started out as a very conscious person and as someone that had great confidence, or they had to build it up, along the way. But the main fact of it is, just like we mentioned Lara in that series, she knew who she was, and she was able to walk to that. The truth is, you're not going to live up to your full potential and who God has made you to be if you're not conscious of who you are. If God has made you to be light and you are living as moonlight, like the moon borrows its sun, its light from the sun. If you're living as moonlight, you're never going to shine as bright as you're meant to be, and you're going to settle.
So let's talk about also, as much as the success thing, I know this topic is the topic in the room. We women face like the insecurities as women, that fear of, am I good looking? Am I, like you said, summer bodied? Do I have all that? Because sometimes those fear, like even modeling. One of my friends, she's on the big side, and she was like, that modeling thing. Like, and what they're saying, they're opening the room
inclusion,
for modeling. Well, low key. They still for the soccer of the slim body people. So that insecurity, me women only faces as much. I must say it's not a burden on men, but it's more on us as women.
Definitely,
that fear of, I'm not, even down to relationship. If a man comes to meet you now, you're like, oh God, I'm not good looking, I'm not that kind of thing. You feel like you're not deserving. So most of the times people won't go through toxic relationship because we just have to, because this person just loves me like the way I am. Don't believe that they are beautifully and wonderfully made. So let's discuss that topic, because that insecurities, a lot of girls, most ladies carry those insecurities. I'm not fine enough, I'm not curvy, I'm not this, I'm not fair, I don't have a pointed nose, all those little insecurities.
Okay, I think I was discussing, I think last week with a friend, and I was telling the person how, for in Nigeria, the ideal body type for women is, you are more endowed and things
Yes.
like that. In China, they love slim waist. When I say slim, I mean very slim waist, and that's how they've most of their ladies have moved to that part. And it's bad that they have eating disorders because they are trying to get that slim waist. In every society, you would hear some parts of Africa that they like their women thick, and so people begin. I think a few years ago I was watching a documentary and seeing how many women were trying to eat very well so that they will be thick.
Yes.
Now imagine if here in Nigeria you have this perfect body, and then you go to China and then you find out that your body is not ideal. What do? You now begin to lose weight, and then when you now finish from China, you now go to another part of the country where they like thick people, and then you begin like you can't please everybody. Like, we know there's an ideal body, but you can't. Even jollof rice, not everybody likes jollof rice. Do you understand? Like, you're not jollof rice, and even with jollof rice, it's not everybody that loves jollof rice. So you have to accept yourself. Now, this is not to encourage obesity at all. We're trying to live healthy, but don't conform to a standard that is unrealistic. You go on the streets of Instagram, and I'm saying this because this was my experience. Growing up, as a teenager, I had more body than every other person, and so even when they would want to describe you, they'll say, "Oh, the horrible girl, the girl that has, the fat girl." And so it began to enter my mind, and the truth is, it became so bad that I couldn't walk past a mirror and look at myself. Now these days, anywhere I see a mirror, I'm just like, "Hi, beautiful."
I like that.
Yeah. But honestly, 3 years ago could not pass a mirror and stand and look at myself, because I just felt in my head I did not have, I hated my body so much, and it was not great. I couldn't wear a dress. I'd wear flare dresses because I heard that it's way better for my body type. I couldn't wear
fitted dresses.
Yeah, fitted dresses, because now I think half of my wardrobe is fitted dresses. How did that start? Honestly, I would say, first of all, I had to identify that I had that fear. I had to recognize it. Then secondly, I had to work on it. I worked on it through affirmations. You see that mirror that I did not like, I stood in front of that mirror. It was painful, but I stood in front of the mirror. I stood and I began to declare, it's affirmations, and it's from the word of God. You say it. I'm beautiful. I was made in the image of God. I love who I am. You have to love yourself. If you don't love your body, now I love my body. God, I love my body. And when I realized that, the worst part of it is that when I was dealing with all those things, I said, comfort eating all manner of things. So it was not healthy living, honestly. So you can see that it was a progression. I had this insecurity, and then it led to low self-confidence, and then it led to comfort eating, and obviously it led to not being healthy. Exactly. But I had to deal with it, and now God has helped me. I don't eat junks like that. In fact, I've cut certain junks straight up. But it started from the words of affirmations. I had to tell myself, "Oh, I am beautifully and wonderfully made by God." I love I would call myself, I would say, Pekano. I love myself. I love my in fact, I would begin to pick out areas in my body. I would be like, "Oh, I love your smile. Oh, I love your eyes. Oh, I love your ears." Before you know, I fell in love with
yourself.
every.
And if what's the funny thing is that if you love yourself back, the way you love yourself, other people will love you that way.
Definitely.
This popular saying, the way you see yourself is the way other people will see you.
Yeah.
So when you start loving yourself, people now "Wow, this girl is actually beautiful."
Exactly.
And didn't they know?
All the while.
Or is how you start looking at yourself. You need to see the way you look at yourself. Just the way you carry yourself. Be intentional about yourself. I'm this kind of person I need to be intentional about how I look, about myself, because what you carry is so much more.
Definitely.
So much more. You need to like, how they say, you need to package yourself. Package yourself.
And can I share something?
Yes.
The truth is, we also have, this year I came into the realization that I had to be thankful for my body. I became so conscious of my body that I thanked God for my legs. I thanked God for like my spinal cord that could carry my entire body.
Yes.
The truth is, you are not, if you do that, if you are not into the painful part of it is that you are not grateful for the body God has given you. That's just the sad truth. You are not. But when you become conscious and when you deal with that insecurity, you begin to see because anything you don't like, you won't be grateful for it.
Yes,
that's just the truth. But when you love your body, when you love yourself, you'll be grateful for the body that you have. You don't have to wait till you see sad stories are all around before you say, oh God, thank you for my legs. No, you don't have to wait for that. You don't have to wait for comparative thanksgiving. The consciousness that, oh, God has given me this body and this body serves me, because if you're supposed to do the purpose of God, you need this body here on earth. So you need to treat and funny enough, I began to lose weight after those processes. Like, it was then I began to say, oh, I want to work out more. I started doing walking, like normal walking. I would count my steps, downloaded a pedometer and then all those things. And that was when I began to say, oh, I shouldn't eat this because it is not that healthy. It all stemmed from first my mind. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the standards of the streets of Instagram that tell you that slim waist is the key. That tell you that summer body, summer body is the way. Don't be conformed to those standards. Transform your mind by the renew. Like your transformation comes from the renewal of your mind. You eat the word of God. You keep on, and
Yes. Oh God, a lot of knowledge, a lot of knowledge. Like you said, concerning the success, the not feeling you're deserving, and all that, being conscious of yourself and first identifying your fears, because sometimes that identifying of your fear alone is courage to look at yourself and say, Joy, you're actually going through this. You need to work on this. And consciousness, God revealing himself to you and telling you, because like this saying, if you don't really know who you are, you can't utilize it. So you have to know who you are. So like a lot of knowledge flowing. Like me personally, I'm actually blessed. Like what I did not know about was that consciousness of knowing who you are. When you know who you are, that consciousness, you can walk into any room and you can demand what you deserve.
Definitely.
And you don't undermine. Sometimes people may think that you're proud, but it's just that you know what you want, you know your standards,
you know who you are,
and you don't undermine yourself. So I learned a whole lot. Do you have anything like just to say someone that is battling either with the fear of success, the fear of not feeling like it's deserved, or the fear of insecurity, just like a word of acknowledgement or encouragement to these ladies?
Okay, honestly, to the lady out there, you deserve the best. Like, just know that God is your father, and your father created you with so much love. When God was making you, he made you in love. God is love, and so you deserve every good thing. Don't downplay yourself. Don't feed your insecurities. You owe yourself honesty and sincerity, and that sincerity comes by being truthful to yourself. If you know you're dealing with a certain fear, a certain weakness, a certain insecurity, you need to be truthful and you need to identify it, and you go to God honestly and in all sincerity and trust God, that same spirit that was in Jesus Christ will also quicken your mortal body. Trust God that he would also do that, that he did for all of us, and those women that we mentioned, he will do it for you. And I trust that God will definitely change and turn your life around.
Thank you so much. Like you said, fear is from the mind and fear is the spirit. So we ladies, we need to identify this fear, ask the Lord for strength to overcome this fear. I wish we could stay Like, so there's a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to talk about, but we have to go. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and be part of this beautiful family where we learn and we relearn, and most importantly, we grow. I am your host, Joy Sylvester.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.